Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast Postgame Show. So, Monday night, Pistons played the Grizzlies, coming off a win in Mexico City. And we go to Memphis. No Tobias tonight. He was out with a right ankle sprain. Isaiah Stewart gets injected into the starting lineup. And the Pistons won their first quarter this season. Crazy to believe. They had a very good first quarter. They were scoring early in transition. Memphis was very slow to get back. Memphis started hitting their threes, kind of made it a game. They tied it 12-12 very early on in this one. But the Pistons' rim protection in the first, I thought, was really great. Having double bigs, having Isaiah Stewart, having Jalen Duren out there seemed to work. We matched double bigs with their double bigs. They had Jaren Jackson Jr. and Langdow out there, so probably butchered his last name. But they had size in their front court as well. But Pistons had a 32-25 first quarter lead in this one. Transitioning into the second quarter, Ron Holland was very active. It sucks that JB did have to sub him out. He had 12 points and he picked up his third foul. Ron always brings the energy. That's what we kind of expect out of Ron Holland in these games. Offense was very sloppy, though, I will say, in this second quarter. It seemed like the Pistons had a hard time getting set in the half court. And there was like the whole Asar Thompson versus Vince Williams. It was a double technical, two-headed technical for pointing. And then, stuff started to heat up towards, the end of the second quarter. Pistons had a 10-point lead heading into halftime, 58-48. Coming out of halftime, Grizzlies got this down within 4. They started hitting shots. Jaren Jackson Jr. was hitting threes, but then the Pistons went on a run. They were up as much as 21 points in this one. And then they do something that I really hope doesn't develop into a habit. They just go cold. They didn't score for the remaining 4 minutes of this third quarter. So that once 21-point lead dwindled down to 9. So it was only 83-74 going into the fourth. And Asar made some really big stops, I think, in the fourth quarter. Kate Cunningham in the fourth quarter just said, okay, time for me to take over. Finished with 19 points in the fourth quarter. Hit some really big clutch shots. Pistons win. They win it again, 114-106. They improved to 5-2 on the season, first 7 games of the season. Was this a pretty game? Absolutely not. Could the Pistons have lost this game? 100%. I do want to get into the box score, and we'll go over the team stats. And then if you guys are regulars, you know how we do these post-game shows. We will open it up to any comments, questions, overall thoughts. Just drop them down in the YouTube chat if you are watching live right now. But let's get into these team stats so you guys can kind of see how this game did go. So if we look at the starting lineup, Duncan Robinson had 11 points, played 40 minutes tonight. There were situations with him tonight that I thought he passed up on a lot of shots, a lot of pump fakes, kind of passed the ball back out, but he was in double figures tonight. Isaiah Stewart, career high, 26 points, 14 rebounds, 4 assists, 4 block shots. And he stepped up big time, you guys. No Tobias Harris tonight. We've seen double bigs before, but that was during the Monty Williams era. That was during the end of Dwayne Casey era, and it didn't really translate to too many wins, but tonight it did. Isaiah Stewart was huge for the Pistons in this one. Jalen Duren, he had 14 points in this one, had 9 rebounds, did his thing as well. He was a plus 13. Cade Cunningham, season high 33 points in this one, 5 rebounds, 8 assists. Had a very efficient game from the field, 12 out of 20. The free throws are kind of concerning because he is a good free throw shooter, only made 6 out of 10 tonight. He's usually around an 80% free throw shooter. Maybe it's just a little fatigue on his end. Sar Thompson had 9 points in this one, 4 rebounds, 4 steals, 2 blocks. He had a huge block. It was just kind of like out of nowhere. You had to rewind your screen, but he was only 1 out of 6 from the free throw line. Gonna have to get him, at least around that 65%. I know right now in the season he's shooting around 50%. I'm gonna have to have Asar shoot better from the free throw line, in my opinion. Ron Holland, 20 minutes off the bench, 14 points. He was a really big factor in this one. Javonte Green played 20 minutes off the bench as well, had 3 points, 3 rebounds. Karis LeVert, 20 minutes off the bench as well, had 4 points. I was impressed with Karis in the first quarter. And then it just kind of seemed like he was just kind of making mistakes, but I'm going to give Karis a little bit of a pass here, because he is still kind of transitioning into learning this Pistons offense under JB, even though he has played for JB in the past. I think this is only his 4th or 5th game with the Pistons. I think once Karis gets a little bit more comfortable, I think he'll be okay. I do. Now, if we do look at the team stats, now this is where I do want to kind of focus on in it a little bit. Pistons shot 50% from the field, 10 out of 31 from 3, so around 32%. The free throw line, we got to do a better job with our free throws. This game shouldn't have been as close as it was. Only shot 69% from the free throw line. Memphis did actually out-rebound us, and you can see right here, 18 offensive rebounds. That was a big reason why they were able to get back into this game tonight. I think the Pistons on most nights aren't going to get out-rebounded with the bigs that you have in Dern and Stewart and Thompson crashing the glass, but they did get out-rebounded tonight, and that was because of Memphis. Memphis did turn the ball over 20 times. You do have to credit the Detroit Pistons defense for that, but we also turned it over 14 times. I think the start of the fourth quarter, we only had 9, so we had 5 in the fourth. Fast break points. It was good to see them get a little bit more. And points in the paint, 58, and that's just kind of been an MO of this team so far this year. We aren't as good as we are last year in terms of shooting the 3-point shot. So we've been packing the paint a lot with Jalen Duren, with Isaiah Stewart, Sar Thompson. So this is going to be a team that lives in the paint. I believe the Detroit Pistons are the best team in the NBA in terms of just points in the paint. I think it's the Pistons and the Spurs are number 1 and number 2 respectively, with just being a points in the paint type of team. But I do want to open up the show to comments and questions and overall thoughts with this game. I do see that we do have a couple of comments. I see Rocky in here, regular. I see Aaron. I see Case Cracked. But let's get into this Q&A section of the podcast. We got AFBH. He said, I'm going to call Cade and JD outcasts because Cade is ice cold and Jalen Duren is that big boy. Shout out if you guys know Outcast. If you don't, kind of show my age. Outcast always had some bangers when I was a kid, but yeah, both of JD and Cade Cunningham, great. Jalen Duren didn't have a game where he was scoring 30 points. He still managed to be in double figures tonight, but tonight it was Stu. You're starting to see different players step up because you don't really have a quote unquote second option. Tonight it was Stu. The night before it was Jalen Duren. We've had Tobias Harris step up. We've had Sar Thompson step up, and I think that kind of gives you versatility, and it kind of gives you unpredictability, in my personal opinion. Obviously, we'd like to have that, go-to number 2 option, but this team is finding ways to win. And you had no Tobias Harris tonight, no Jaden Ivey, no Marcus Sasser, and guys stepped up. So absolutely love that. Piston Fan 11, any news on how long Tobias is out, or what is the comment by Beasley about coming to Detroit? He lives in Detroit. Okay, so this is a 2-part question. I'll go with the Tobias one first. So on the medical report, the injury report, it said that he had a right ankle sprain. He sprained it in the Mexico City game, but he continued to play in the second half of that game. He was questionable tonight. The Pistons decided to just give him a rest day, make sure that ankle's good, because they do play 3 more times this week. You got Utah on Wednesday, then you have the Nets on Friday in Brooklyn, and then you finish off the week with the red hot Philadelphia 76ers, I may add, on Sunday. So they probably want Tobias healthy for the remainder of this week, and hopefully that right ankle sprain isn't a long-term injury. Maybe he can just ice it, elevate it. He's good to go against the Utah Jazz on Wednesday. In terms of the Beasley comment, okay, so for people that don't know, Malik Beasley went on his Snapchat and posted saying, "Hey, I'm gonna be in Detroit this week. I wonder why." Very cryptic. And obviously, his lawyer has told him, just chill. Those are his words, because if you guys follow his Snapchat, they're just like, hey, like, this chill. You're still under investigation, right? Um, I don't really have anything to say with, Beasley coming to Detroit. He was just here. He was at University of Detroit Mercy last week, getting some work in, working out, staying ready, as he always says. I don't really know what it means. Could it be a court case? Could it be him just kind of trolling? I'm not really sure. I wouldn't really read too much into it. I think there's still a lot of things that we don't know with this investigation. And I'm not going to come up here and speculate like I know anything, because I don't. I'm just a spectator like you guys. But if you want to, follow along, Malik Beasley, definitely, follow his Snapchat, follow his Instagram. He's always kind of giving updates on like what's going on. But I'll just kind of leave it at that. Piston fan 11. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I guess we'll just have to wait and see what does happen with his investigations and allegations with prop bets and betting and stuff like that. I want to get to Aaron's comment. Ben saying Stu should play power forward for 2 years now, and got mocked. Dude is our power forward of the future, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, Stu can spread the floor. I think the post game is something that he's going to continue to work on. It's not perfect by any means, but you can't really deny his effort. You can't deny his hustle, the way he just competes. The guy plays at 120%, no matter who's out there on the court. Doesn't matter if they're up 20 or down 20. He plays the same, and I think that's what we love about Isaiah Stewart, especially on this podcast. And I'm sure you guys like that about Isaiah Stewart as well. And I've been seeing a lot of these comments, especially after this game. Like, I see is like, are we going to start bringing Tobias Harris off the bench? And I know those conversations are going to keep being had, because you get a game like tonight where Stu has a career high, had a double-double, and he looked great out there. I'm not really sure. I'm not JB Bickerstaff. I don't really know what he feels with the long-term power forward on this team. I would assume once Tobias does come back, he will go back to his starting spot. But now you have conversations. Now you have, a good game against a Memphis Grizzlies team that still had Jaren Jackson Jr. out there. Obviously, they were without Zach Edey, who's just absolutely huge, their starting center. But, Stu looked great out there. You got to credit to him stepping up in place of Tobias Harris, who was injured tonight. I think these conversations will keep being had, and I absolutely love that, because I think when you kind of look at just the power forward discussion that we have, like, we don't have a quote unquote backup power forward, right? That's something that we talked about all summer. That's something that I mentioned. I'm like, are we going to sign one? Are we going to, play Asar at the 4? Are we going to play Ron at the 4? There was talks about Javonte Green at the 4, but Stu being able to, step up out there, he looks good. I honestly think that, it's worth a discussion, I think, when we talk about, backup power forward, starting power forwards with this roster. Want to get to a couple more comments and questions. I do see one from Rocky talking about the non-Cade minutes in the second half destroyed us. I imagine that'll get resolved when Ivy gets back. Yeah, the non-Cade minutes, you just pray that they can score. But you're right. If we're talking about when Jaden Ivey potentially does come back, the non-Cade minutes, they'll be able to stagger, Cade on the bench and Jaden Ivey with the second unit. You won't be as reliant on Karis LeVert to operate with your team as your backup point guard. We just have to wait and see when Jaden Ivey is coming back. I believe it's 2 weeks, maybe a week until he does get reevaluated. So we'll get an update on when his more of like, excuse me, how his knee rehab is doing. I was kind of looking for words. I'm just thinking really fast, but we'll get an update on Jaden Ivey, I think November 13th, because that'll be, I think, 4 weeks. That'll be the 4-week period. But yeah, I would imagine, once Jaden Ivey does come back, the non-Cade minutes won't be as drastic as they've been so far this season. I got a comment. Ja does look cooked. I honestly think like Ja just hasn't developed. Ja just hasn't the 3-point shot hasn't really developed. He's still really great at getting into the paint with that little floater. He gets to the free throw line, but he just hasn't really developed since 2022. I don't really necessarily think he's cooked. I just think he hasn't really, worked on his game as much as maybe he probably should have. I mean, you got guys that have leaped John Morant. I mean, 3 years ago, a lot of people were having conversations like, John Morant SGA. And now it's like you hear people talk about John Morant's not even a top 15 point guard. And that's how drastic those conversations have got. Like I was listening to an ESPN podcast today, the Hoop Collective, and they were like, yeah, he's not even like a top 10 point guard. He's may not even be a top 15 point guard. He just hasn't developed his game, in my opinion. But he's still a good player. It from my vantage point, I don't know about you guys, but it just feels like he just hasn't really, developed his game. I think the 3-point shot was always a weakness when you were evaluating him coming out of the draft. Really explosive athlete, but it's the off the court stuff too. It's the antics that does, come with John Morant. I mean, throwing his coach under the bus after losing to the Los Angeles Lakers, and kind of pouting, not trying hard. I mean, he even kind of saw it tonight. Like his effort when the ball isn't in his hands is completely different when they're trying to play him off ball or just defensively. But I mean, hey, that was a big win. We haven't beat Memphis. I believe the broadcast since 21 or 20. It's been a while since the Pistons have beat Memphis. They've always kind of had our number. But hey, man, I'm happy with the win. I'm happy, we're starting the season off strong because injuries do happen. It's a long NBA season. The fact that you're 5-2 right now and you're playing a Utah Jazz team that isn't really looking to win a whole lot of games, but they've started off the season strong as well. I honestly think their lineup could give us a little bit of trouble. The way that they're playing Lauri Markkanen, the way they're playing Kyle Filipowski, Walker Kessler, stretch fives have always kind of been Durden's kryptonite. I'm really interested to see, though, how we do play Utah. If you guys do remember last year, Utah came to Detroit and dropped the hammer on us. Hopefully the Pistons come in focused and remember what Utah did to them at Little Caesars Arena last year. I doubt they want a recap of that. I doubt they want to have a team that is probably going to be competing for ping pong balls, come in there and, beat you as bad as they did last year. But I do want to get to a couple more questions. I see a comment from Aaron. Question: are you believing this team is a potential 1 seed? I mean, we could be reactionary. I think right now they were tied for, I want to say, the 3rd seed with Milwaukee. I saw that Milwaukee did win tonight. I don't think they're a number 1 seed, Aaron. I don't. The East is wide open. I think absolute ceiling, this team's probably top 3. I think if things kind of go off the rails, they're maybe 6. maybe you have more injuries. Knock on wood. Hopefully, we have no more injuries. Hopefully, guys like Marcus Sasser can come back. Hopefully, guys like Tobias Harris can come back off of that ankle sprain. Jaden Ivey's rehab is going well, but I think I could see like as high as 3. Low as 6. It just kind of depends on like how they attack this November. Because if you look at their schedule in November, I don't really think it's as bad as some people were talking about it in the offseason. I think all these games are winnable. I think you can beat Utah, Brooklyn. You should take care of business there. Philly, I think, will be a very good test. Philly's playing a lot faster, and that is something that we have struggled with is transition defense. Joel Embiid is still in a minute restriction, but their backcourt of Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, I think, is going to be a very big challenge for the Detroit Pistons. I think Sunday's game, to me, is the one game that I'm looking forward to the most because it kind of sets the bar to me personally. It's very early on in the season, but it sets the bar to where this team could stack up with the top dogs in the Eastern Conference. Like you look at Philly right now. Last time I looked at the Eastern Conference standings, they were tied for first with the Chicago Bulls, 5-1. Obviously, I haven't looked at the standings since this morning, but I think that's the game I'm looking at right now. I don't know if this team could be a number 1 seed. I don't. I see that Cleveland, they've had some losses as of late. The Knicks, I'm not really too surprised that they're struggling right now just because the way Mike Brown is trying to implement, kind of a Spurs-esque offense. And Karl Anthony Towns is struggling. OG Anunoby isn't getting back on defense. Mikal Bridges has been frustrated. And the Knicks don't look like the powerhouse team that they were last season. I mean, they're struggling. So they're adjusting to a brand new offense. It's not just, hey, Jalen Brunson dribble the ball for 15 seconds and gets a bucket. It's more passing the ball. And I think they're struggling with that right now. I see Larry Jackson drop a comment, say, we need another star to be a number 1 seed. Can Ivy be that? I don't know. That's a fair question. We don't know. I'm hoping Ivy can be that number 2 option next to Cade Cunningham. I'm hoping that, he has no setbacks in his rehab. I don't think this me personally, I don't really think that we can be a number 1 seed right now. I don't. But I do think they could at least be top 3 if everything goes well. Do see a couple more. I see a comment from Case Crack. Shout out to him talking about the Bucks. The Bucks are the most underrated team in the East. They will make a play for a player to pair with Giannis and Miles Turner. Yeah, the Bucks are playing really good ball. Ryan Rollins is balling right now. I don't really know how they're going to trade because they don't really have any draft picks. I don't know if they're just going to package a bunch of their guys and try to get like try to form a big 3 with like Giannis and Miles Turner. But I think what the Bucks wanted to do is just surround Giannis with shooting, and that's what they did this offseason. And so far it's worked. And it's contingent on Giannis staying healthy, and it's contingent on Miles Turner still protecting the rim at an elite level and picking and popping with Giannis. But you look at the Pistons, I've always said the Central is probably one of the most difficult when we talk about this conferences. Like you have the Pistons, you have the Bulls who are doing better, you have the Bucks. Obviously, Indiana's having a down year, but when Tyrese Halliburton comes back, like the Central is very tough and difficult. And I think they're going to be battles for years. As long as Giannis is there, I don't know how happy he is with being in Milwaukee, but I've always said the Central is a very, very difficult. What do you call that? Conference, I guess. Not a conference, but like a group. I am really tired. I apologize, you guys. I'm usually more sharp and not on it. I'll do one more question from Rocky. I just think we need to get better on perimeter on both ends to be that team. The way we left Jackson and Spencer unchecked on the 3-point line was frustrating. Yeah, like I'm excited with this win, right? Obviously, this was a game that could have tipped in the Grizzlies' favor, but the perimeter defense at times, like it's great at times, but to your point, You left Jaren Jackson Jr. open. No one was communicating and saying, hey, Cam Spencer's a good 3-point shooter. Someone pick him up. He had multiple possessions where he was hitting threes. I think this defense can be improved. And what's funny about that is they're still top 10. They're still a top 10 net defensive team. I've had conversations on these post-game podcasts with you guys. Like, we get frustrated with the defense, but there's still a top 10 defense in the NBA. And I think that's exciting because they can get better. Could they get top 5? Maybe. I'm not really sure. But I mean, JB has these guys, playing good ball, next man up mentality. It's exciting times to be a Piston fan. It's called the division, Anthony. Thank you. Honestly, man, I'm so tired. If you guys have noticed, I've been doing a lot more podcasts lately. I've been doing like 2 podcasts a day. We did a podcast with the Memphis Grizzlies podcaster that was posted this morning at 12, and then we're doing these post-game podcasts with you guys at night. And we're doing one with a Nets podcaster. That should be fun. And then we're doing one with the Philadelphia 76ers podcaster, still kind of confirming that. But should be fun talking to all these different podcasters and reporters. But I appreciate you guys. Rocky, yeah, I know I'm just being nitpicky. And I get it because it's frustrating because defensively, they could be as good as a top 5 defense. There's just lapses where they kind of fall asleep. And like, when's the last time we could say the Detroit Pistons were a top 5 defensive team? I'd probably have to go back to like when I was a kid with the Going to Work Pistons, right? And that's exciting. I think there's stuff that they can definitely clean up. They can definitely clean up being a better defensive transition team. They can clean up being better at the free throw line. Turnovers are always going to be a topic with this team, but I think as of late, they've done a better job. I've told you guys, I can live with like around 12 turnovers a night. Like if you can kind of have like anywhere from 10 to 12, I think you give yourself a good chance to win most basketball games. The free throw numbers have to get better though. I don't know what's going on with Cade. I don't really know why Asar is struggling as much as he has been. I know he was like a 64% free throw shooter last season. He's in the 50s right now. Those are things that I'd like to see them clean up collectively as a basketball team. But, overall, first 7 games, you're 5-2. You haven't played your best basketball and you're still finding ways to win games, which is great. I mean, if you kind of look at last year to this year, the Pistons weren't a 500 basketball team until like around December. They're a 500 basketball team. The 3 games over 500 right now. So there's a lot to be positive about. But, as fans, there are areas where we'd like to see them clean up, defensively. Hopefully the 3-point shots start falling more. I can see a lot of teams game planning for the way we do like to pack the paint. And I think a way for us to kind of negate that is start making more 3-point shots. But overall, I'm really excited with this basketball team. Okay, one more question. I always say one more question. What number would Beasley wear if he's completely cleared? I don't know, man. Ron took his number. Duncan's 55. I really don't know what number he would take. A lot of the lower numbers, like 1's retired, 2's retired, 3's retired, 4's retired. I don't know. Have to wait and see. I really don't know what's going to happen with him. Praying for him. Hopefully he's not convicted of these gambling charges. Hopefully it's just allegations and he's freed. Even if it's not with the Pistons, I'd like to see him back in the NBA. But I will wrap up this podcast. Appreciate all 50 of you guys watching right now. If you could, on the way out, hit the like button. It does help us out a lot, push our content to more Detroit Pistons fans just like yourself. If anything, just drop a like. It helps me out a lot. But we will see you guys on Wednesday for our post-game show against the Utah Jazz. after the game. Hope you guys have a great night. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.